You're watching Seven Rivers Sports. I'm your host, Terry Erickson. Each week, an inside look into sports, wellness, and fitness. Well, this week, the spotlight shines bright on Onalaska High School with two of the very best outstanding student athletes. With me this week, Jess Ondell and Nick Pica. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Well, as we tape the show here on June 10th, you have just graduated, former Onalaska Hilltopper, and you've converted from a Hilltopper to an outlaw, to a pair of outlaws. So our viewers are wondering, what the heck does he mean by that? Well, you just returned from a tournament in South Dakota and playing for a team called the Outlaws, so you're a pair of outlaws. Share your experience being an outlaw, Nick.
So me and Jess got together after the Legion season was canceled and high school was canceled. We got a bunch of local guys to come in and practice with us and stuff. And then we put together the team probably 3 to 4 weeks ago. And the tournament sign-up was within like a 12-hour period, so we got the team together within like a day. We got kids from Central, Logan, a couple guys from Minneapolis, and then we all went and played in South Dakota this past weekend, and we have 2 tournaments upcoming.
Well, so the very first group of athletes in this area that have taken the ball and no one else playing, to my knowledge, except some older teams, and so you're sort of breaking the mold and going out and testing the waters and playing. How'd you get the name Outlaws, Jess?
All right, so we wanted to use the Onalaska hats, and we had the O on it, so we just needed a name that started with O. So I actually Googled it, and the first name that popped up was Outlaw, so we went with it.
So tell us about your experience in your first tournament.
It was great. All the guys were just happy to be playing again after being in quarantine. It felt great to just be on the field, you know, and compete.
The school year cut short. You're no spring sports. Both of you building to a spring season. Both of you playing baseball since you've been very, very young. Both of you looking forward to the baseball season, graduation parties, banquets, and so on. And all of that cut short. Emotional, challenging. How'd you accept that, Nick?
I mean, at some point we were forced to accept it. There was always hope to go back to school and have all that stuff. But I mean, with graduation being planned for the 24th now and us putting this team together, I think we've just accepted the fact that it's not going to be normal, and we're just going to make the best of it.
You know, those of us that have been involved in high school, college athletics, to have it all taken away. For those that maybe have never experienced it, they may not be able to understand the emotional impact, how a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity taken away. Emotional, Jess?
Oh yeah, of course. We were pretty upset. All the hard work we put in like every day after school, just hitting and lifting all for this season, and then to be told that we can't play, it was pretty upsetting.
The WIA came out a few weeks ago with a decision on staying with the suspension, of course, but then a silver lining, meaning that they opened up a window starting July 1st to the end of July, and the opportunity to get together and, you know, bring closure, practice, have scrimmages and things like that. Has that changed, Nick?
No, I still believe they have that, and I think they're forced to include the seniors. And at that point, those practices are just for us to like keep like leaving our legacy on those younger guys and just to have fun at the end of the season and like get some closure.
Well, it's an opportunity to put that uniform on the very last time, whether you're a track athlete, tennis, golf, baseball, softball. I would think that most athletes, the seniors, would want that closure. What about you, Jess?
I would love to have it. You know, I only played a year with them, but I mean, I feel like the bonding that we got over that 1 year was pretty good. So it'd be nice to get in the uniform again.
Let's kind of go into some deep issues. A lot of people think, authors have written that the world is a mess right now. The world is a mess with the pandemic, with racial issues, with the quality of education being somewhat questioned. Although around here, I'm not sure if that's applicable because the quality of education, in my view, is very good. In fact, state of the art. Quality of education at Onalaska, you had a great experience.
Yeah, I think the quality of education at Onalaska is like unparalleled, even to some of the local schools, but I mean even statewide, like ACT scores and all that stuff. But just as far as like the teacher experience, I mean like I knew pretty much everyone on like a personal level, and those like people meant a lot to me, so like walking out on that on like an abrupt like Tuesday was pretty tough.
Well, both of you are tremendous student athletes, exemplifying what a student and then an athlete's all about. Honor roll, academic, all conference, and so on. So that is, you certainly have sent a message to young people. But your experience was highly significant too, wasn't it, Jess?
Yeah, I mean, all my teachers were great. I liked every one of them. I knew them on a personal level too. And just to have one day where you're there and then the next day you're not and school's over, it was just all of a sudden, it was just weird timing and everything.
Well, academic all conference, you've just accomplished everything, both of you. Racial issues, highly significant, pivotal time in the history of the world with things happening as we speak. And certainly abrupt changes on the horizon, we all hope. Racial issues. Do you see that in the greater La Crosse area, Jess?
I mean, from my perspective, I've never experienced anything, and like the people around me really haven't. But I can see like in the La Crosse area and everything where it could be an issue. But I've never experienced any of it myself.
I talked to somebody recently, and they said, Terry, the racial issues that we see at perhaps the college level, the high school level, around La Crosse is more of a silent issue, not as profound and obvious as it may be in other places. Nick?
Yeah, I'd say a lot of it's pretty internalized, and I think we're finally seeing that like bubble up in the form of like the different things that happen in Minneapolis and other cities like across the world now. Other countries are involved, but I think like the silence is like overtaken, and like now it's just all kind of coming out, kind of like when you're like interacting with somebody and like you just like keep it all inside and like you don't say anything, but then it all has one big, like the bubble just bursts, and then this is the consequence of that.
Somewhat subjective, I know, but remember I said there are authors who say the world is a mess. I sort of agree with some of that, although I'm not cynical. I try not to be, and I don't give up on things. Is the world a mess? And if it is, how would you change it if you could, Nick?
Well, that's first of all a big question. I mean, compared to a few months ago, I'd say we're in like disaster state at this point. I mean, we had the global pandemic, but that's almost overcome by like the racial inequality and that different type of thing. So I mean, at this point, compared to last year, I would absolutely agree with that. As far as how I would change it, I think world leaders need to get together, and I think people just need to have more discussion, and I think people need to talk out their side of the story, because I think some of this comes from other sides not understanding each other.
So many things that have happened, guns in schools, terrorist activities, and so on. They reach a pivotal point. They reach a crescendo. They're high profile. But then weeks later, it seems to things die down, and people forget sometimes and go back to their everyday lives and so on. You think that's going to happen with what we see now, Jess?
I think it might. And I think, from my perspective, the only way that this is over is if you educate people about it. Right now, I don't think people are really that knowledgeable about it, and so I think it will just end up dying down again.
Well, we hope not, but there are so many people that are sort of ambivalent about what's going on. But remember now, and certainly our viewers know this, the future is you. The future is you, Jess. You have to take the bull by the horns, and you have to make some changes. How are you going to do that?
Yeah, I think our generation is very different from the older generation, just based on like interactions with my grandparents and things. And I mean, as far as younger people go, I think there's already been changes in like how we see the world versus how other people saw it, and I think people are still judging it based on how those older people are interacting with the younger people, and I think it's starting to clash a little bit. But I think in the end, the different age groups and generations, at some point there's got to be a tipping point where we turn it around.
Silence is a form of endorsement or acceptance. If you're silent about things that matter, that should be changed, you're sort of accepting that. Are you going to accept it, Jess?
Well, something has to be done about it because obviously something isn't going right now. And I'm a little hesitant just because, like, I don't have the experiences to, like, judge anybody based on what they've experienced because I've never had to go through it before. And I don't think it's fair to them that I try to act like I have. So I guess from my perspective, I just have to try and understand what they're going through as much as I can.
Well done, well said, profound. That's what education's all about. And of course, once you have the knowledge, which creates an opinion based on fact-finding knowledge and so on, then you can share your thoughts. But you're right. Silence sometimes is because you're processing things in advance. But you've had great experiences as a student. We talked about that. Do you have a favorite subject, favorite teacher, favorite part of your academic experiences?
I would definitely say the math department at our school is awesome. I've had all but 2 teachers, and I mean, I can have conversations with them on a personal level, in the hallway, out of the hallway. I mean, I just got a text the other day. They sent me a podcast to listen to. I think overall at Onalaska High School, they're forming like something great between the students and teachers.
Would you agree, Jess, that there's something special about being a Hilltopper?
Of course. It's just just how they run things. They get to know all their students well, personal levels. Mr. Schaffner, I think he knows every single name of every kid at that school.
Mm-hmm. Good. Well, we're going to just step aside for a minute, and when we come back more here on Seven River Sports.
With our busy lives, it's a comfort to know that we can still remember loved ones in a traditional way with a monument. Lewiston Monuments in Lewiston, Minnesota has been helping families purchase a monument for over 4 generations. You'll find a large selection of beautiful granite, marble, and bronze monuments, all at competitive prices. And they're a full-service company, so they also do straightening, cleaning, and repair of monuments. Stop in or call for a no-obligation consultation, or visit lewistonmonument.com for more information.
You know, the thing I'm most proud of when I think about our company is the reputation that we've been able to build in this community. Our technicians have done a great job going out and performing magnificent jobs for the customer. And our customers have rewarded us with some really great reviews online.
We have over 150 5-star reviews online right now. Our technicians do a great job out there, and our reviews show it.
We can say without hesitation, when you choose Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, you'll be glad you did.
Welcome back to Seven Rivers Sports. Great interview today with Jess Ondell and Nick Pica. Onalaska Hilltoppers just graduated. Jess Ondell, just for our viewers' knowledge, how'd you get that name?
It was my grandpa's name. And I guess my first name's actually Dane, which is my dad's name. Jess is my grandpa's name, so it's just a combination of the two.
Well, Jess Ondell was a good friend of mine, passed away a few years ago, but he was inducted into the Boys and Girls Club Hall of Fame, coached baseball, I think was a pharmacist, and was a, that's kind of, I set this up because that's how you got your name, Jess Ondell. Well, football and baseball. We broadcast a lot of your games in football. I'm sure you watched all the rebroadcasts. I know you did. Mm-hmm. And in fact, we worked the game on KQEG, Game of the Week, when you went undefeated, won the MVC championship, and beat Holman, I believe it was 17-10, in a big game. And that meant a lot to you because when you were younger, you played at Holman.
Yeah, grew up playing with those guys, Holman youth football and baseball. So and you accomplished a lot. You were some postseason honors.
in postseason honors in baseball too. Even though, as we talked about, it was cut short. District Player of the Year. You've accomplished a great deal. And you've been a leader. You've been in the National Honor Society and so on. And so, no regrets at all with Jess Ondell, has there been?
Actually, there is one. Instead of playing basketball, it would have been fun to play hockey. That's my only regret.
Really? So
Yes,
you're going to take that into the next chapter of your life?
Yeah, I'm going to make sure my kid plays hockey.
Speaking of the next chapter in your life, we read about that. The media covered it well. You're on your way to play Division II baseball.
Yes, sir. Winona State University.
What attracted you to Winona?
There were kind of two things. Number one, it was close to home. That was probably my favorite part. And then once I got on campus, I liked how close and compact it was. You can walk to every classroom, every hall, right from your dorm. So. And
then you're going to be, of course, academics is the priority. Baseball is secondary, right?
Yes, sir.
Some people get that kind of
mixed up,
screwed up, yeah. So, and what are you going to pursue in terms of a major?
Accounting and finance.
Okay, and then you're going to take that and create your own business at some point?
That's the goal, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So follow maybe in your family's footsteps of...
Yeah, I'm trying to follow my dad's footsteps, actually.
Being an entrepreneur and
yes, sir.
Investing and so on. Something tells me that Nick Pica is going to college somewhere, too. In fact, your profile indicated Concordia. Now, here's a question for you. Like, we're back in school. Remember school? We're back in school. You're going to Concordia University, Concordia. But how many Concordias are there in the country?
3, I believe.
Okay. Actually, there's 7.
7?
7 Concordias, stretching from the East Coast in New York all the way to the West Coast in California. The Concordias that we know about are in St. Paul and in Mequon.
Yes.
Have you chosen which one?
Mequon, for sure, yeah.
So tell us about that choice.
So, first of all, I had to evaluate it from a academic standpoint because, I mean, that goes through the next 40 years of my life versus the next 4. And I chose it academically because of their business scholars program that allows me to graduate with a master's in 4 years. And then on the athletic side of it, I mean, the facilities are unbelievable. The turf field, they have an indoor hitting facility, great weight room, and I just love the people there.
I'm not familiar with their business scholars major, highly unique, where you would go to a 4-year sort of undergraduate program, which is in most, and you get your master's. I mean, that must be awful intense.
Yeah, so every semester it's 18 credits, but based off of my AP scores that will come back in July, I'll most likely be taking around 12 to 15 in the spring when baseball is going on, and then I'll have summer and winter courses to get me through to the master's in 4 years.
All of us, and then take that to a business sort of a world in some regard?
Yeah, so I mean, I could see myself opening up my own business, but I could also see myself kind of managing another company and kind of working my way up to running the entire thing at one point.
Good, good. So you have some lofty plans?
Yes.
And you've set yourself up to reach those too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
you're hard on yourself, aren't you?
I mean, sometimes, yeah. For sure.
Most successful athletes, people in general, are hard on themselves. I've met the enemy, and the enemy is me.
Yeah.
Meaning that I can be my best friend or I can be my worst enemy. What are you?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm definitely my toughest critic, but I think you know yourself the best and what you need to do better. And really the only person that can push yourself is you. And I think when it comes down to where you get to and what you accomplish in your life based on just accomplishments, but then friends, family, it's all what you put into it that you get out of it.
Are you hard on yourself, Jess?
Yes, sir.
In what regard?
If I do something wrong, I'm the first person that tells me I'm in the wrong.
You know, for advice for young people, I can sort of set the stage for this. A lot of young people watch a show, my grandchildren, a lot of, how do I become a successful high school and then perhaps college athlete? Advice, and one of the advices, a piece of advice that I think you would share would be you have paid the price of working hard in the off season. You have not taken a season off, have you, Jess?
No, sir. You just got to keep pushing yourself. I think you got to realize what you're capable of and then push your limits just to maximize like what you can do in life.
Do you ever take a season off, Nick?
Absolutely not. I mean, me and Jess are in the weight room, baseball. It's like a whole new season during the winter ever since basketball ended for me.
All of us have people that have inspired us when we're young. Like, the journey to become successful starts when you're very, very young. If you reflect and you look at those people that have inspired you and then took you on that journey, who would that be, Nick?
First off, it'd definitely be Jake Erickson, who coached me at the Boys and Girls Club of lacrosse over there. He just showed me that like building relationships is one of the biggest parts of life in and out of sports. And then growing up, living across the street from Zach Fairchild, like really inspired me. He went to play Division I college baseball, and then he is now a realtor. But the lessons he taught me growing up to like inspire a younger generation and like let them come along with you and not let it be a bother and be more of like a mentor towards them.
You've been inspired all the way since you were very, very young. I know your family. I sort of know your journey. Share that with our viewers.
My journey? So I'd say my mentor would be my dad. Growing up, he taught me all my morals and values. He introduced me to baseball and lifting, and those two things have just stuck with me, and I plan on keep doing them.
You know, authors talk a lot about what it takes to become a good athlete and a student and so on, and we talked a little bit about commitment in the off season. And the other piece to it, or several pieces, one is attitude. Having that attitude where you come to work every day, you don't know everything, you're coachable, you put your best foot forward every single day. There's a lot of people that are gifted athletes, but the coachability, the attitude, maybe a missing component. Not with you.
No, I think one of the most important things about when you're either on the field or off the field is taking constructive criticism. And I think like the coaches that are there are trying to help you. And if you're closed off with like an attitude, it prevents you from like all the learning that can go on. And like when you can take all that in, you can really like become the best version of yourself.
You know, one of the things that all of us have experienced, and you have at a very young age, again, our guests today, Jess Ondell and Nick Pica, you've experienced, Jess, some setbacks. And how you rally and how you react to setbacks is highly important, because you're going to have significant setbacks perhaps your entire life. You've had setbacks. Our viewers may not know this, but you tore your MCL in football, and then you tore your UCL in baseball.
Yes, sir. So I figured out it was a 12-month recovery with my UCL, and there were other two options, I guess. You could just mope about it, or you could put your head down and get through rehab.
How did you handle it, though? I mean, when you had those injuries, knowing how much you value athletics, come on, it must have been emotional.
It was really hard, especially the UCL for baseball. It was second game of my sophomore year, I believe, and I couldn't get into surgery until June. So I went into surgery knowing I wouldn't be able to play that year, and that was probably the hardest pill to swallow.
Nick, you've had you've had success, but you've also had setbacks, and one of them was the fact that you had a labrum surgery, cracked growth plate. I mean, you have certainly not been injury-free.
No, not at all. I mean, at some point, like, my arm was a mess for a while, and that kind of messed with my head for a long time. But I had like great people around me that helped me get through it. I mean, they told me it would be 9 to 12-month recovery. It was probably 2 years before I was myself again, really like felt like I was me on the baseball field again. So, I mean, there was a lot of work put into that, but the rehab was just crazy hard.
I know you both had disciplinary exercise injuries, and one of them you both identified as we close the show is that you're losing to Monroe in the playoffs by 1 point in football, highly unexpected. But you're both deep. We started the show this week on some deep topics. You handled that very well. Is there a saying that would sort of identify who you are, Jess?
Ask for forgiveness, not for permission.
How'd you get that?
You know, So just as I went through life, I've done things that I probably shouldn't have, and everything leads me back to that phrase.
Good. You know, I looked at that and I thought there's a famous rear admiral, a woman, Grace Hopper, I think, that is used that in some speeches, and she has a very famous Navy person that attributed to that saying, and so it's pretty profound. Nick, is there a saying that would describe you?
Yeah, I mean, Cameron Haynes, the guy that I followed for a while, he says go one more. And I think in life, if you go one more and like everything, like another rep, another thing done for the day, one more hour working on this, like the consistency just builds up into a success.
Well, and you're an FCA guy, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I think in the book of Proverbs, Jesus talks about going the extra mile, and you guys have done that in the classroom. You guys have done that in athletics, in the wellness center, training, and the success that you have will be certainly significant. I'm certain of that. So our guests today have been, this week have been Jess Ondell, Nick Pica. Thanks for being on the show, guys.
Thank you.
We'll be back with some closing thoughts right after this.
You know, the thing I'm most proud of when I think about our company is the reputation that we've been able to build in this community. Our technicians have done a great job going out and performing magnificent jobs for the customer. And our customers have rewarded us with some really great reviews online.
We have over 150 5-star reviews online right now. Our technicians do a great job out there, and our reviews show it.
We can say without hesitation, when you choose Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, you'll be glad you did.
When you're faced with the decision of selecting a monument to honor someone dear to you, call Lewiston Monuments for a no-obligation consultation. Lewiston Monument is a full-service monument company, serving families in Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin for over 4 generations. You'll find beautiful granite, marble, and bronze memorials, all at competitive prices. Their experts can help you design the perfect and unique memorial. Lewiston Monument. Call today or on the web at lewistonmonument.com.
Enjoyed this week's show. Next week, the story of Dave and Lexi Donarski and their rise to the top in girls basketball in the greater La Crosse area. You won't want to miss their story. Well, that's it this week here on 7 Rivers Sports. I'm your host, Terry Erickson, hoping that you are staying safe and healthy, and like me, looking forward to giving your life back to normal in the weeks and months ahead.